How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Weather Sponge 1000, and in this video we're going to forecast the amount of total snowfall accumulation the United States should expect this winter and determine if we could be in for a record-breaking year when it comes to the total amount of snowfall accumulation this winter. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather content. So to begin, let's take a look at the current snow cover extent for the entirety of the northern hemisphere, and as of right now we are seeing near record-breaking snow cover extent throughout the northern hemisphere at this time. You see that we're seeing the snow covers extend as far south as the Rocky Mountain region of the United States, and we're seeing that snow extend over a large area of the northern hemisphere at this time. If we were to take a look at the snow cover anomalies for this time of the year, comparing this year to how it typically is during October 8th, we do see that for the most part throughout Canada and even the United States, we're seeing more snow cover than what we typically see during October 28th. So as a result, this should make it more likely that we're going to experience more snow this winter for the United States, because a higher amount of snow extent this early in the year represents a weaker polar vortex, and pretty much a polar vortex is an area of extremely cold air that's typically centered around the polar regions. But sometimes when the polar vortex becomes very weak, we're more likely to see that cold air that's hovering around the polar regions to move further southward into the United States to allow more snow and cold to move into the United States. And since we're seeing much more snow cover than average for the northern hemisphere for this time of the year, then we're more likely than not the polar vortex is very weak, as well as the fact that a higher amount of snow further southward would reduce the instability to reduce the westerly winds, which would weaken the polar vortex. This should make it more likely that we're going to be in for more snowfall than average this winter for the United States. So that's something to keep in mind. If we were to compare this year compared to the past 54 years when it comes to the exact area of snow extent, we do see that pretty much comparing this year to the past 54 years, this year's rank is number 6 when it comes to the amount of snow extent and the exact area that it covers, the snow extent. So we're close to record breaking for this time of the year when it comes to the amount of snow extent, which should which should allow this year to become more active than usual when it comes to the amount of snowfall, thanks to a weaker vortex. And as a result of this higher amount of snow extent we're seeing this early in the year, if we were to take a look at that, give me just 1 second. So typically when there's a weaker polar vortex, we're more likely to experience a negative North Atlantic oscillation. And pretty much what a North Atlantic oscillation is pretty much an index on how strong the westerly winds are, because typically when the westerly winds are stronger, then we're more likely to see the cold air stick around the polar regions, since the winds are keeping it from moving further southward. And that's what typically happens during a positive North Atlantic oscillation. But during a negative North Atlantic oscillation, the westerly winds are very weak, and we're more likely to see that cold air around the polar regions move further southward into the United States. And as you can see, head into the winter time, we're more likely to hover right around the neutral phase, but more likely a little bit more toward the negative phase when it comes to the North Atlantic oscillation, which will play a big role in terms of how much snow the United States will experience this winter, because if we were to see a more negative North Atlantic oscillation over the next several months into the winter, then we're more likely to see a colder and snowier than average winter, which will of course increase the total snowfall that the United States will experience this winter. And we do see that we're more likely to lean more towards the negative phase head into the winter months, which I believe will contribute to the United States receiving more snowfall than average, along with the fact that we're seeing a record-breaking amount of snow cover extent throughout the northern United States, which will reduce the instability, which will weaken the polar vortex and allow for negative North Atlantic oscillations to be more likely. Now, taking a look at what typically happens during a negative North Atlantic oscillation, if we were to take a look at that, we do see that Typically, when there's a negative oscillation, we do see that there's more jet stream dips, which allows a colder and snowier conditions to move into the United States, which of course will contribute to this year being a little bit more snowy than average for portions of the United States. However, there are some portions where I think there is a possibility where we could see less snowfall, and this as a result of the fact that during a La Nina that's expected to build this winter. If we were to take a look at the snowfall, the average snowfall anomaly for La Nina years, we do see that typically we see a lot more snow than average for the northern portion of the United States, and a little bit less snow than average right around the southwest, as well as portions of the Appalachian Mountain ranges as well. So based on this, we should expect a little bit more snow than average right around the northern United States, based on what typically happens during a La Nina, and a little bit less snow than average right around the southwest. However, the fact that we're more likely to experience a negative North Atlantic oscillation this year could maybe make the snowfall a little bit higher than what you'd expect for the areas even further southward. So that might cancel out the fact that there's a La Nina right around the southwest. So in general, I do expect more snowfall than average for most of the United States, especially the northern portion. For the southwest, there is a possibility it could be less than average, but I think the North Atlantic oscillation will pretty much even itself out with the La Nina phase, which I think will make for pretty much an average season when it comes to snowfall right around the southern United States. Now, take a look at what typically happens during a La Nina. We do see that that typically we see more jet stream dips right around the United States, which will allow that colder air to move further southward. And taking a look at what happens right around the Pacific Northwest, we see that it's a little bit more moist than average, and then we see drier and warmer than average conditions right around the southeast, which could make for less snowfall than average for the southern United States. And we typically do see more moist than average conditions right around the Ohio River Valley. Now, taking a look at the drought monitor, which will play another big role when it comes to the amount of snowfall the United States should experience compared to average. We do see that much of the United States that's just to the west of the Mississippi River Valley will experience conditions that are much drier than average, which I think will contribute to portions of, which could contribute to portions of Southwest receiving less snowfall than average, as I do think that it's at least more likely than not the southwestern portion of the United States will experience less snowfall. And while there is a drought further northward as well, I do eventually expect the Pacific jet stream associated with La Nina to move through the Pacific Northwest, which will moisten up the conditions a little bit for the Pacific Northwest and Northern United States for this drought to go away. I still do expect that to happen, along with a negative North Atlantic oscillation, which should bring more troughs to the area right around northwest. However, for the southern United States as well as the southern Midwest, I do expect the drought to continue. So I think that you should experience less snowfall than average this winter. But it could, again, like I said, it could be canceled out by the fact that we could be in for a very strong negative North Atlantic oscillation, which will promote more jet stream dips. But I think the more likely shot is that the southern United States will experience less snowfall than average, while the northern United States will experience more snowfall than average. Now, take a look at my total forecast when it comes to the amount of snow you should expect this winter for the United States. So I do expect that portions of the northern Great Lakes should expect right around 80 plus inches of snow, which is nothing new out of the ordinary for you guys, as you typically do experience 80 plus inches of snow in a given year. However, I do expect you guys to still experience more snowfall than what you typically experience, and this includes much of the northern United States, such as areas just north of Milwaukee. You could experience 40 to 60 inches, as well as Minneapolis, where I think there's a possibility you could exceed 60 inches of snow, thanks to how active this winter season is gonna look coming into this year. Now, taking a look at The Rocky Mountains, I'm expecting 60 to 80 inches. Again, nothing out of the ordinary. 30 to 40 inches for portions of the Interstate 95 corridor, such as Boston and New York City, which is above your typical average of 20 to 30 inches right around New York City. I'm expecting 20 to 30 inches right around Washington, D.C., extending into just north of St. Louis, Missouri as well. And then around 1 to 10 inches in portions of the southeast. This is a little bit further northward than average, and this is as a result of the fact that I'm expecting this winter to be warmer and drier than average for the southern United States. However, there's still a possibility we could see maybe some snow in Dallas, but it's less likely this winter thanks to the fact that it's going to be a little bit drier and warmer than average for much of the southern United States. So this is my winter 2022-2023 snowfall forecast. If you want even more in detail forecast regarding the amount of snowfall you should expect this winter in your specific location, just make sure to comment down your location so I can give you guys a more in detail forecast regarding the amount of snow you should expect in your area. So make sure to comment down below if you're interested. But we do see that much of the northern United States should expect more snowfall than average. Chicago should expect right around 30 to 40 inches as well. So make sure to pay close attention to this, as we could be in for a record-breaking winter thanks to the fact that we're gonna be under a strong negative North Atlantic oscillation as well as other factors such as La Nina that's expected to build. So make sure to keep that in mind for the United States. But anyways, guys, I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more about the content. I hope you guys have a great day.